Hello, I'm Beth Joey and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Welcome to the second video in my Sarah J. Maas reread series where I essentially take you through and vlog the experience of rereading every single book by Sarah J. Maas in the Throne of Glass, ACOTAR and Crescent City series, all in anticipation for the release of House of Flame and Shadow in January. But let's be honest, I'm probably not gonna meet that deadline, so we'll just see how far we get. Obviously, in the first video, you saw me reading Throne of Glass. I hope you really enjoyed that video. But now, of course, it is time to pick up Crown of Midnight, which is the second book in the Throne of Glass series. Everything you need to know about Throne of Glass is in that first video, but if you want a quick summary before jumping into this one, Throne of Glass and this whole series follows Selena Sardothian, who is an infamous assassin in the land of Aurelia, and she is imprisoned in Andovia, which is a salt mine, until one day she's offered the opportunity of a lifetime by Dorian the Prince and Chaol, the captain of the guard, to be freed from the prison in order to participate in a competition to become the king's champion. Naturally, in Throne of Glass, Selena wins this competition. She is now, at the beginning of Crown of Midnight, the king's champion, which means she's going back and forth between, I guess, a moral debate about what she's actually having to do, having to kill people for the king, this person who she does not believe in any sense of the word. She thinks he's a tyrannical ruler because he has been committing atrocities all over the land, all over the kingdom and other kingdoms in the pursuit, I guess, of having total control. In Throne of Glass, you're introduced to a beautiful love triangle between Dorian, Chaol and Selena, and that definitely escalates to a little bit more of a one-on-one relationship between Chaol and Selena in this book, but of course it's Sarah J. Maas, so you know that's never where this ends. And then of course you have Selena making some beautiful friendships and intense enemies along the way. So you've got Nehemia, who is her bestie, who is a princess of Ilway, where so many of the atrocities in this novel seem to be happening, but also a big portion of the rebel movement. And then you've got Kaltain, who is sort of one of the enemies from the previous book, alongside Duke Parrington, the king, and a whole host of other people, who at the start of this book has been imprisoned for her actions relating to the previous book. I think that's everything you kind of need to know before jumping straight into this story. There's going to be a lot of mystery. There's going to be a lot of talk of rebellion. Hopefully there's going to be some amazing relationship development, and as always, tied up all in this mystery of who Selena really is, who this Queen of Terrasen that everybody is talking about actually is. It's all going to be uncovered in this book, and I'm super looking forward to it. So without further ado, let's crack straight in to the reading vlog.
So high I'm hypnotized. What's up is down, what's left is right.
Okay, I know I said that I wouldn't be updating every 50 or so pages, but I'm 54 pages in and I have an update on Crown of Midnight and my thoughts on it so far. This book, first of all, kicks off in the most intense and gruesome way that I feel like is a setup for just how this whole book is going to go. From that point onwards, I think it is so interesting how this entire book is just a really tense reading experience for the reader, because not only are you getting introduced to new characters where you know, having read this book before, how their story ends, which is really sad and really bittersweet in some ways, but for me, it's more about how every chapter, it feels like there's a new complication added, a new issue that is all just mounting and mounting and mounting that Selena has to deal with if she wants to be able to, one, survive, but also two, live out her like fate or destiny. The people that she's being forced to kill by the king and the way she's going around doing that. You've got the rebel movement that is just sitting in the background and the obligation, I guess, that she feels towards Nehemia to keep her apprised, keep her updated. You've got these relationships that she has with Dorian and Chaol and how both of them are so in love with her, but she just kind of doesn't really know how she feels about either of them. Neither of them are very perfect for her. One of them's very protective. The other one can't believe who she's becoming. And then all of a sudden now the next person that she has to kill is someone that she used to know. And she is trying to merge all of that with trying to figure out what actually happened to her back in the day, like why she was captured, who betrayed her back in the day when she was first sent to Endovia. Now that the queen, Elena, who helped her at the end of the first book, is adding another weight to it, being like, oh yeah, your fate is so intrinsically linked to the fate of this world. And she's like, well, no pressure, like, thanks. I love all the references to the rebel movement and how it really does feel like we get to see it from the outset, from that first catalyst moment in the first book where those 500 Eelway rebels were massacred. Now it's really starting to kick off. You've got the rebel movement making its way into Ardalan, into Aurelia. But I'm also really enjoying how the character growth has, yes, there's a time jump, so there are certain elements of it that you don't get to see, but the elements of it that you do, like the PTSD that not only Selena, but also Chaol is experiencing from everything in the first book, and how the way they're perceived by characters such as Dorian has changed so much because he wasn't exposed to the brutality in the same way that Chaol and Selena were, so he doesn't quite understand as much why they've changed so much and why Selena's appearance has changed. She's not wearing her beautiful dresses anymore, why her relationship with Dorian has changed, why Chaol's relationship with Dorian has changed. But I will say that one thing I think I missed in the first book at the end was just how quickly Chaol and Selena's relationship has changed as well, from the first book to the second. I think part of that is because there's a time jump, some relationship building must have happened there in that time jump, but from my memory, Chaol and Selena weren't romantically involved really at the end of the first book, whereas in the second book, it's kind of implying that they are a little bit, and they're flirtatious, and they kind of not go on dates or anything, but there's definitely something there that wasn't there, I think, at the end of the first book. And the banter between them is top tier. It's like those two are just constantly at each other, like constantly giving each other shit, and it's great. I am loving my read so far. I'm not gonna be updating every 50 pages because that would probably kill me, but I will update quite a few times during this vlog. My plan actually is to get most of this read today so that I can then do the next video tomorrow and just have videos prepped and ready well in advance, just for something new and different, but that'll never happen, so we'll see. I'm gonna get back to reading after I have some lunch, and I will chat to you with another update whenever I have some more things to say. Okay, so I'm now about 130 pages into this book, and chapter 15, that one hurt. That one really, really, really hurt, because it was this chapter of beauty and romance and hope and loveliness, and it was mesmerizing, and there was this musician, this performer, and it was all going so well. And you have this beautiful moment that ends the chapter of Chaol and Selena connecting, Dorian finally letting her go, and then it takes you to the dungeons, and there is this moment of horrific atrocity and despair and depravity that is just so moving, partly because of the fact that it was immediately preceded by this moment of beauty and hope and loveliness, but partly because of the final words of the character going through that moment. Sarah J. Maas, you know, you paint a vivid picture, you destroy my emotions about a character that I literally met 3 pages before that scene happened. I was literally on the verge of tears. Anyway, aside from that, before I start crying, Sarah J. Maas honestly has the ability to paint such vivid imagery, such vivid pictures, such vivid emotions, not only in that scene, but also when Selena's in the library and she's walking through. It's so dark and gothic, and the atmosphere is just palpable. You can just feel how eerie and spooky it is, you know, with the way that Sarah J. Maas describes that scene. But then also it's interesting how she's dropping all these little Easter eggs, all these little hints relating to the Queen of Terrasen and this sort of frost that seems to be following Dorian everywhere. And obviously, as someone who has now read the series and know what all of that means, it's like you notice those little Easter eggs so much more than ever before. I also have so much credit for her writing because even though the story is written in third person, she really gets you inside the mind of Selena and Dorian and Kale and whoever's POV you are in that moment, because she kind of breaks that barrier in third person. I don't know how to describe it. It's just amazing. I also really like that these characters, despite the fact that they're obviously dealing with very grown-up issues, they're dealing with a lot of PTSD because of everything that they've gone through. They do have these moments of high angst and high impulsivity that just reminds you how young they really are. And I like that their age isn't forgotten. You know, this series is supposed to be a YA series, so it does need those moments where the characters just do dumb things or act like a teenager or swoon over some guy they think is kind of cute because he, you know, breathes up against her neck one time, and that's kind of, you know, it just reminds you and it brings you that joy of reading a YA novel while also having the intensity, I think, that you find more in new adult. I think it is so interesting, this sort of relationship between Kale and Selena, because again, as someone who's read the series, I can see all the reasons why it doesn't work, and I can see all the moments where she sort of resents him a little bit, and you can really easily compare that to future relationships and be like, she would look at these two relationships and be like, yes, this other person is so much better for me because they're not doing all these things that I hated that Kale would do. He's being overprotective and alpha male, which is great, but it's not what Selena wants. Selena wants someone who will support her, but not feel like he always needs to be there on her shoulder, telling her what to do, telling her to be careful, giving her this feeling like she can't look after herself. It's just so interesting. You can see Selena really start to resent him for it. And the last thing, the very last thing that I want to say before I get back to reading is, Mort, you are fast becoming my favorite character, my friend. He is so sassy, so like tongue-in-cheek, so funny, so snarky. I mean, he is just top-notch, top-tier, amazing character. I love him so much. And he is just this levity that I think this book particularly needs with everything that it's dealing with relating to the horrors committed by the king and the rebels and Selena's and Kale's PTSD and all of that. Mort is a much needed and much deserved character, and I love how much he rubs Selena up the wrong way and how Nehemia tries to like give him respect, but Mort is like, nah, I'm better than all of you. I've been here for way too long. Just like tone down, pipe down, sort yourself out. And yeah, he's an amazing character. I'm gonna get back to reading and I will chat to you when I have more of this amazing book read.
At 29 and I find myself wondering what did happen to the last 10. I ran away with my life.
Good morning. It is officially Sunday. It is 8 o'clock in the morning. I did get up at 6 a.m. this morning so that I could get a few videos filmed and so that I could do a bit of life admin before getting into the rest of Crown of Midnight. I am about halfway through, well, not quite, but I'm almost halfway through this amazing book, and just like in all my other updates, I'm having an amazing time. I did end up putting it down last night because I found myself lagging a little bit and I just wanted to eat dinner and watch a shitty movie. So I started rewatching the After series, which is a series of movies based on the novels by Anna Todd. They're super toxic and complicated and very angsty, but also incredibly addictive. I did watch the first one and halfway through the second one before finishing off editing some videos and heading to bed, but I'm keen to finish off the rest of this book today. Let's talk about my thoughts since my last update, now that I'm at the 196-ish page mark. I think going into the characters first of all, I think sometimes Nehemia is a character that really confuses me because she seems to be way more knowledgeable than she's letting on in terms of the hints that she's dropping about the Queen of Terrasen, about Dorian's powers, but then she says things that make it seem like she doesn't know who she's dealing with. And there are moments where she says something and I'm kind of like, well, then if you think that, then you definitely don't know who Selena is. As for Dorian, I struggle reading his POVs because he is so terrified, and you can just see how scared he is of the way his own powers are manifesting and what that means for him. But I think it's so beautiful that he cares so much about potentially the same thing happening to his brother, even though his brother is like the worst little child beast thing ever. It just shows the depth of emotion and caring that Dorian has. And then as for Selena, I mean, reading that flashback of what happened in Endovia on the, I think, 9-year anniversary of Selena's parents' death, that was hard. That I almost hit up, because it was just this futile, desperate, hopeless experience of someone who had just given up. But it was also so brutal and so honest, and I think it says a lot about Selena's character that in her effort to give up, she is still going out fighting for someone else. And the very, very last thing I want to say is that it makes me worry when Selena is happy, because at the moment in the read, Selena is currently happy, and that is how you know that shit is about to hit the fan. And I think the situation that terrifies me is just about to happen. I hope I don't cry. I'm gonna keep reading some more of this book, and I will update you in a little bit once I have a bit more to say about how I'm going. The scene has happened. The one that I think everyone dreads when they read this book. I'm not crying like I expected to be, but just imagining the panic and fear that Selena would be feeling in that moment, it hits. It hits. I won't lie. I'm gonna keep reading. Yeah. This is a very, very, very speedy update. Apologies for the washing machine in the background. To say that chapter 33 is everything. It is literally the pivotal moment in this book. It's the beginning of the end. It's the moment that starts it all, and it's beautiful that it's told in such a way where it's from the perspective of a character who, in the grand scheme of the plot, doesn't make any sort of major appearance in the story, but the impact of her actions in that moment are unparalleled. It's just incredible that it's coming from a character who has no power in the grand scheme of things, has no ability, has no prospects, has no future ahead of her, and she makes this move. She's not even given a name, so she's so, you know, she's positioned as so like inconsequential, I guess, just one of the many sort of idea, but her actions are the beginning of it all. I love that chapter. I love it. I think it's amazing. It's so impactful in its brevity. Back to the rest of this story. I now am 250 pages in a book that is totaled at 400 and something pages, 420. I'm more than halfway through. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I'm loving it, as I always knew I would. I know things are about to kick off majorly, so I don't know how many updates you're going to get between now and the end, because this has been an intense read. A very, very intense read. And it's so weird to think that The Assassin's Blade is next, which is the one book in this entire series that I don't like. I need to get back to reading once I've hung out the washing, so I'm gonna go do that, and I will talk to you in a bit. I'm looking proper angelic right now with the background here of the light in the back. I you know, if I was a smart filming person, I would have that facing me so that I could get nice natural lighting. But of course, I've done it the opposite way around, so I look like an angel, because that's preferable. Anyway, I just wanted to come in here very, very briefly to say that I am now just up to the last 50 pages of Crown of Midnight. It's been an experience, it's been a journey. I'm really looking forward to finishing this book and reading this last battle scene that I know is coming, and just being able to put this one down, check it off the list, and be super, super happy with another 5-star, Sarah J Maas read. I just want to start by reiterating the fact that Sarah J Maas is like the queen of atmosphere. There are so many moments in this story that are so atmospheric, whether it be, you know, Selena hunting down Grave when she finds out that Grave was the one that killed Nehemia, the conversation that she has with Archer when she's manipulating him into basically admitting to her that he's the one who hired Grave, the discussions around grief when Selena is in this moment where she realizes she can have a conversation with Nehemia again, and Nehemia is telling her like, no, I thought you were smarter than this, what are you doing here? I mean, there's this one passage that I really want to read to you if I can find it, because I highlighted or underlined, I guess the word is, the whole thing, because it hit me a little bit. Alentia, Nehemia paused to look back at her. The void seemed to be swallowing her up bit by bit. You will not understand yet, but I knew what my fate was to be, and I embraced it. I ran toward it, because it was the only way for things to begin changing, for events to be set in motion. But no matter what I did, Alentia, I want you to know that in the darkness of the past 10 years, you were one of the bright lights for me. Do not let that light go out. That was just like tear-jerking moment for me, to have Nehemia and Selena get that final goodbye, that closure that Selena never gets to get throughout her entire life. I think the discussion of grief is really, really well examined. The discussion of PTSD, obviously, but also the idea of, you know, how desperate Selena is to just have any moment with the people that she's lost, and just what she's willing to do to experience that, and how that all relates to her grief and her ongoing PTSD and trauma. But onto something lighter, I also love the scenes where Selena is figuring it out. She is making her way around the little tomb where Mort is, and figuring out all the little riddles and those sorts of things, and figuring out this other side that she's opened up through this portal, and the king's power, the clock tower, the ability for these word keys to turn people into monsters. Like, she is figuring it out right now, and she is doing it so well. She is a queen. I'm up to the last 50 pages of this book. So the next catch up from me will be my review and my final closing out of this vlog. So I will see you soon to go through that. Wow, the ending of that book will always hit. That was incredible. 5-star read, 100%. Just finished Crown of Midnight. I mean, I know how this book ends. I know every time I pick this up that how this book ends, and the big reveal that's made, but man, it still hits, because it takes you step by step by step through how Chaol reaches the point where he realizes, oh shit, I done fucked up. But anyway, I have just finished Crown of Midnight by Sarah J Maas, which means this vlog is officially over. I loved my reread of this book, as you can probably tell from the many updates that I've done throughout this video. As always, Sarah J Maas is the queen of atmosphere. I think the development of the characters through this novel is so interesting in the way it deals with PTSD and grief, as well as the way it goes into those relationships between the characters, like between Selena and Chaol, and just the beautiful young love that they get to experience, and the residual impact of the love triangle from the first book of Dorian, Chaol, and Selena, and how Dorian feels so separate, not only because he was the one who wasn't chosen, but also because of this ability, this magic that seems to be blossoming within him that he doesn't understand, and he doesn't know how it could be possible, and he knows it'll be a threat to his life. The rebel movement obviously officially kicked off, I guess, in this story with the big major catalyst, with the death of Nehemia, with the moment and the chapter, I think it was chapter 33, with the young slave girl and the actions that she takes following finding out that Nehemia had died. It's the catalyst that starts the whole rest of the series, and I just love that that happened in the second book, so that the first book you had time to really understand the characters. The second book is now time to really expand the world, and I'm so looking forward to reading not so much The Assassin's Blade, but Heir of Fire definitely, when Selena gets to really go into her own and really get to experience her fae side a bit more, learn about her magic, meet a special someone, obviously, and the guys are left behind dealing with the rebellion and picking up the pieces after Chaol realizes who exactly he has just sent over the border. 5 out of 5 stars, absolutely loved this read. Cannot wait to get into the rest of this series and pick up more and vlog them all for you. But I would love to know if you've read this series or what your thoughts are on it. I hope that you've read this series if you're watching this video, because there are tons of spoilers. But if you have read this series, come and let me know in the comments down below your thoughts on it. And if you haven't, just let me know what you're reading at the moment, loving it, hating it, all that kind of thing. I love talking to you guys and I do my best to reply to every single comment. I really hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please do let me know by liking, subscribing, and hitting that notification bell all down below. It's a super easy way to help my channel grow, and I will see you lovely people in my next video. Bye!